she can't win. That's what people keep saying about Caitlin Clark. Stay quiet, she's too passive. Speak up, she's causing drama. But when the WNBA's biggest star finally decided she'd had enough of the games, the politics, and being used as a bargaining chip, her words didn't just make headlines. They exposed something the league desperately wanted to keep buried. Because what just surfaced isn't your typical sports controversy. This is about a commissioner caught in a lie so obvious, so public, it might cost her everything. Here's what actually happened. Nafisa Collier, the vice president of the WNBA Players Association, sat down for what should have been a routine end-of-season exit interview. 6 minutes later, she had set off a firestorm the league is still scrambling to contain. Collier claimed that during a private conversation, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert told her something stunning. According to Collier, Engelbert suggested that Caitlin Clark should be grateful to the WNBA, because without the league's platform, she wouldn't have all those massive endorsement deals. Let that sink in. The player who single-handedly brought millions of new fans to women's basketball, who shattered every viewership record in existence, who filled arenas from coast to coast, being told she should be grateful. The same player whose jersey sales broke records before she even stepped on a professional court. The player whose name alone boosted the league's social media engagement by triple digits, being told to be grateful. If you believe the story behind the story matters, if you're tired of seeing players used as pawns while executives protect their power, hit that like button right now. It tells us you're paying attention to what's really happening here. Because within hours of Collier's revelation, social media absolutely exploded. Fans weren't just angry, they were furious. Hashtags started trending worldwide. Former players spoke up. Current players dropped cryptic posts that made it crystal clear they knew more than they were saying. And suddenly, what should have been the WNBA's proudest moment, the finals, the playoffs, the record-breaking season, all of it got overshadowed by one massive question. Did the commissioner really say that? Now here's where things get interesting. Nafisa Collier isn't some random player venting frustration. She's not throwing shade after a bad season. She's a union leader, someone who sits across the table from league executives negotiating contracts, travel conditions, and the next collective bargaining agreement. When someone with that level of authority publicly calls out the commissioner, it's not gossip, it's a calculated move. It's a warning shot. And Commissioner Engelbert knew it, because within days, she stepped to the podium to try to control the damage. Cameras rolled. Reporters filled the room. Everyone waited to hear how she'd respond. But what came next didn't calm anything down. It made everything worse. With that polished corporate composure and that tight executive smile, Engelbert looked straight into the cameras and said the words that sealed her fate. Obviously, I did not make those comments. She called it inaccurate. She praised Caitlin Clark, called her transformational, and spoke about how proud the league was of her success. On paper, it sounded like standard damage control, but between the lines, something was deeply wrong. Because while Engelbert praised Caitlin publicly, she also made sure to discredit Nafisa Collier's account completely. She didn't just deny the story. She implied that the vice president of the Players Association, a respected veteran and all-star, had fabricated the entire thing. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a declaration. And everyone watching could feel the tension. The clip went viral instantly. Fans dissected every word, every pause, every carefully chosen phrase. They noticed how Engelbert dodged direct questions, how she shifted focus to celebrating the season, and how she never explained why Nafisa would invent such a specific accusation. In the first place, IT was the kind of response that doesn't settle an issue, it exposes one. And that's exactly what happened next. Because instead of smoothing things over, Engelbert's denial shattered what little trust remained between the players and the league office. Behind the scenes, frustration boiled over. Players started speaking out, not through press releases or formal statements, but through interviews, podcasts, and sharp social media posts that made their feelings unmistakably clear. You were right to notice the silence from certain players after that press conference. Many fans have been saying this for weeks. Something felt off about how the league was handling Caitlin's impact. And now, we know why. Here's the part the mainstream media isn't talking about enough. This controversy landed right in the middle of collective bargaining agreement negotiations. The current CBA expires soon, and these talks determine everything. Salaries, travel conditions, maternity leave, health insurance, and the entire framework of how players are treated and compensated. And the one person negotiating on behalf of every player in the league just got publicly called a liar by the commissioner. Think about that dynamic for a second. The union's vice president makes a claim about what the commissioner said in private. The commissioner denies it on national television. Now those same two people are expected to sit in a room together and negotiate a deal that affects hundreds of players' livelihoods. How does that even work? It doesn't, and the players know it. Veterans who've been in this league for years started speaking up about a pattern they'd seen before. Promises made behind closed doors that never materialized, public praise that didn't match private treatment, and a front office that celebrated players in press conferences but fought them in contract negotiations. The WNBA has been desperate for mainstream attention for decades. They got it with Caitlin Clark. Suddenly, arenas that averaged 4,000 fans were selling out. Games that once aired on obscure cable channels were broadcast nationally. Merchandise sales skyrocketed. The league was finally breaking through. But with that visibility came something the front office didn't anticipate: accountability. When nobody was watching, internal tensions could stay quiet. Disagreements could be handled privately. But now, every move, every statement, every denial plays out in front of millions. And those millions aren't just casual observers anymore. They're invested, they're paying attention, and they're not buying the corporate spin. Connecting the dots reveals something uncomfortable for league leadership. The same star power that saved the WNBA from obscurity is now threatening to expose how that system actually operates. Because Caitlin didn't just bring fans, she brought scrutiny. And under that scrutiny, the cracks in the foundation are impossible to hide. This isn't about one misunderstood conversation anymore. It's about years of players being told to wait, to be patient, to be grateful, while seeing minimal change. Years of women selling out arenas, but still flying commercial while their male counterparts travel on private jets. Years of record-breaking performances were met with record-breaking excuses about why things can't improve faster. And then came Caitlin's response, not immediate, not emotional, but calculated and precise. When she finally spoke about leadership in the WNBA, she didn't name names. She didn't have to. We need great leadership across all levels. That's what she said. Simple words, but loaded with meaning. And if you're wondering whether that was aimed at Commissioner Engelbert, drop a comment below with your take, because this conversation is just getting started, and we want to hear what you're seeing that the mainstream media is missing. Here's why those 7 words matter so much. Caitlin Clark has spent her entire professional career trying to stay above the noise. She's deflected questions about league politics. She's focused on basketball. She's been a model of what the WNBA wanted, a star who brings attention without causing problems. But that statement wasn't deflection. It was a line in the sand. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't attack anyone directly, but she made it crystal clear that the current leadership isn't cutting it. And coming right after the Engelbert-Collier controversy, the timing couldn't be more obvious. This was Caitlin saying what Nafisa had been saying all along. The problem isn't the players, it's the people in charge. And that's when everything shifted. Because suddenly, this wasn't just a he said she said between commissioner and a union leader. This was the face of the WNBA, the player who brought unprecedented attention to the league, publicly questioning its leadership. That changes everything. Reading between the lines reveals something even bigger. Multiple sources close to the situation have been whispering about what's happening behind closed doors. We're getting into rumor territory here, but the breadcrumbs lead somewhere significant. According to people familiar with the negotiations, tensions between the Players Association and the league office were already at a breaking point before any of this went public. The grateful comment, if it really happened, wasn't an isolated incident. It was reportedly part of a larger pattern that players have been documenting for months. Not officially confirmed, but sources suggest growing frustration about how league leadership talks about players in private versus how they praise them publicly. And that disconnect, that gap between what's said in press conferences and what's said in closed-door meetings, is what finally exploded into the open. Fans have been connecting these dots on social media for weeks, long before Nafisa went public. People noticed something was off about how Commissioner Engelbert talked about Caitlin's impact. There was always this underlying tone, a subtle suggestion that the league was doing Caitlin a favor by existing, rather than acknowledging that Caitlin was single-handedly changing the league trajectory. The WNBA community is buzzing about what comes next, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. The league is negotiating a new media rights deal. Expansion teams are being discussed. Investment money is flowing in for the first time in years. The WNBA finally has real leverage, real momentum, real opportunity. But instead of capitalizing on it, leadership is caught in a credibility crisis. Let's filter out the noise and look at what's actually at stake here. If these reports are accurate, if the relationship between the Commissioner and the Players Association is as fractured as it appears, the upcoming CBA negotiations could completely fall apart. And if that happens, we're not talking about a minor setback. We're talking about the potential for work stoppages, for public disputes that could destroy all the momentum the league has built. The irony is almost painful. After decades of fighting for attention, the WNBA finally has it. Young girls are wearing player jerseys to school. National brands are investing millions in partnerships. Games are drawing audiences that would have been unthinkable just 5 years ago. But all that progress, all that hard-earned visibility, could evaporate if the people in charge can't figure out how to lead through this moment. And here's the part that should terrify league executives. The WNBA technically operates under the NBA's umbrella. Adam Silver may not intervene in every issue, but make no mistake, this situation is absolutely on his radar. Because if the women's league collapses under a leadership crisis while it's finally becoming profitable, that failure reflects on him. 2, there are already whispers, quiet ones, but growing louder, that Silver might have to step in. Some insiders believe he's already been briefed on contingency plans in case negotiations completely derail. If these reports hold any truth, the WNBA could be facing something it's never experienced before, a forced leadership change at the top. And for many players, that might not be such a bad thing, because this isn't about one quote or one press conference. It's about a system that's been broken for years, finally exposed under the brightest spotlight it's ever had. It's about players who've been told to be grateful instead of being told they deserve better. Caitlin Clark didn't create this storm. She revealed it. When she walked into the WNBA, she didn't just bring her talent. She brought millions of people who had never watched women's basketball before. And those new fans aren't carrying the baggage of how things used to be. They're asking simple questions. Why are these athletes flying commercial? Why are salaries so low when arenas are selling out? Why does the leadership seem more interested in defending itself and supporting the players? Those questions don't have good answers. And the more attention the league gets, the harder those questions become to dodge. That's why Caitlin's statement about needing great leadership hit so hard, because she was speaking to everyone who's been asking those same questions. She was validating what millions of fans and dozens of players have been thinking all along. The WNBA is at a crossroads right now. Point one path leads to growth, to evolution, to finally becoming the league its players and fans deserve. The other path leads to infighting, to denial, to squandering the biggest opportunity women's basketball has ever had. Which direction it takes depends entirely on who's willing to lead and who's willing to listen. What happens next will define the league for a generation. The collective bargaining agreement negotiations are happening now. The media rights deals are being finalized. Expansion decisions are being made. Every single one of those conversations is happening under the shadow of this controversy. And every decision maker involved knows that if they get this wrong, if they let ego and pride destroy what Caitlin Clark and these players have built, history won't be kind. If you've been following the story from the beginning, if you want to see where this goes next, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this isn't over. The negotiations are still happening. The power struggle is still building. And Caitlin Clark isn't backing down. Next time, we're diving into what the players are really saying behind closed doors and why some veterans believe this could be the moment that changes everything. The WNBA wanted a savior. They got one in Caitlin Clark. But they just discovered what happens when a savior refuses to be silent. And now, everyone, from the commissioner to the sponsors to the fans, has to decide which side of history they want to stand on. Because the league that emerges from this won't look anything like the one we had before. This is only the beginning